Welcome to the Pulsating Biology, and today we are covering another chapter, that is the disease and immunity for the O-levels biology. That is chapter number 12. Let's begin this topic with the firstly understanding that what is meant by the disease and the immunity, and what are the causative agents of the diseases. So firstly, we're going to understand the term pathogens. What are pathogens? They are the disease causing organisms. Since we are going to talk about the disease first and then we're going to come upon the immunity, let's discuss about how the disease basically causes. So pathogens are those creatures that causes the disease. So we say that these are disease causing organisms. As simple as it is. Let's take certain examples to understand them in a much more detail. For example, let's write down some few of the organisms that causes several diseases. Let's talk about bacteria. Let's talk about virus. Let's talk about fungus, and let's say we have fourthly protozoa. These are the four examples, and what kind of the diseases they cause, we're going to talk about that first. For example, bacteria. Bacteria majorly causes cholera. When you come on to the virus causes AIDS. When you come on to the fungus is mainly known for the thrush, and protozoa. The example of protozoa is basically Plasmodium, and the characteristic that causes the Plasmodium, or the disease that is caused by the Plasmodium, is the malaria, which is majorly carried out by the mosquitoes, and in turn we have known in our general life. This is the particular definition of what is the pathogen. Pathogens are the disease causing organisms, and few examples of the pathogen include in our normal living beings is the bacteria, virus, fungus, protozoa, that in term are very different from one another, but in term we say that they are pathogens since they cause certain diseases. Bacteria causes cholera, virus causes AIDS, and similar are the others. Now let's talk about the transmissible disease. When we say a transmissible disease, we need to understand that we're talking about something that can be transmitted or can be transmitted. Transmitted means that the movement of certain substance from one part to another, or from one place to another, you can say. But transmissible disease, when you specifically talk about the transmissible disease, you need to understand that it refers to the involvement of one substance, that is pathogen. So what occurs is that a pathogen can be passed from one host to another. In that term, we say that this is called as the transmissible disease. There are also certain examples of the non-transmissible disease that we're going to discuss, but first let's understand what are a few sorts of the transmissible disease. Firstly, we can say an airborne diseases can be transmissible disease. The waterborne diseases can also be transmissible disease. The foodborne can also be transmissible disease, and even the insects can also be a part of being a pathogen in the transmissible diseases. When we talk about the airborne, waterborne, or foodborne, they are majorly referred to the food poisoning, in terms that whenever we drink water from somewhere that is contaminated. For example, in many rural areas, there are rivers flowing in that area where there is certain contamination in the water, but people do drink that water in such a manner that they during their routine of their life, they drink that water, due to which they can cause different diseases. That terms are known as the waterborne diseases. Similarly, the food that is contaminated by the insects, or even the food that itself is contaminated, can cause certain transmissible diseases. And also the airborne diseases, for example, certain pathogens fly over from one part to another place and causes certain examples of the diseases. But when you talk about the non-transmissible disease, you need to understand that they are majorly pathogens are not involved in the non-transmissible diseases. That means that the diseases that cannot be transmitted from one body to another, or from those pathogens that does not involve in being transmitted. For example, let's take an example of a disease, scurvy. So we all know scurvy is a disease that is caused by deficiency of vitamin C. So what you need to understand in non-transmissible diseases is that vitamin C is not a pathogen. Pathogen is not a vitamin C. Vitamin C is just a characteristic or the cause due to which the scurvy occur, whereas the pathogens are those diseases that basically cause that infection. So the deficiency of vitamin C does cause the scurvy, but we cannot say that vitamin C is the pathogen due to which the scurvy is basically caused. The other manner that you can understand the non-transmissible diseases is that the scurvy cannot be transmitted from one body to another. For example, if I have scurvy and certain person drinks the same water from the same glass that I drank, or a certain person takes a bite of that bread that I've taken a bite from, cannot cause them scurvy as I have scurvy. So this is the terms of the non-transmissible diseases, and these are the terms of the transmissible diseases. The next topic is the direct contact. The direct contact can include two kinds of the certain circumstances. For example, the blood or the body fluid. When you talk about the blood, you need to understand that the direct contact, for example, a person that suffers from HIV. HIV is an infection, you can say, causing agent. So we can say that the person, for example, having HIV, what can cause another person cause that HIV that the same person has? That there can be certain circumstances, for example, sharing needles. The needles that are injected to the person that is infected to the person who is uninfected can cause HIV, since the blood is transfused from the uninfected person to the infected person. Then the next is the accidental pricks. For example, the doctor who is doing the surgery accidentally pricks himself, due to which the body his blood from the body basically fuses with the patient's blood. We say that that kind of contact can also cause HIV. So these are the a few circumstances that can basically infect an uninfected person from the infected person. And similarly, when you talk about the body fluid basically involve whenever you talk about the sexual contact, or whenever you talk about the mixing of semen fluid and the you can say plus the vaginal fluid. This is when we talk about the body fluid. There is a mixing of fluid that basically passes on the pathogens, either from the semen fluid to the vaginal, or either from the vaginal to the semen fluid. We are going to discuss the further topics in the upcoming videos. If you have any questions, you can ask in the comment section below. Thank you for watching.